Welcome to Global Glimpse. We take you beyond the headlines. We uncover the stories shaping our world. Today we journey to a country often seen as a beacon of stability and progressive values, Finland. Stunning landscapes, world-class education system, consistently ranked among the happiest countries on Earth. For years it was also known for something else. Open arms, a welcoming stance toward those seeking refuge and a new life. A sanctuary in a turbulent world. This openness was not just an image, rooted in policy, rooted in a societal belief in humanitarian responsibility. Finland built systems to integrate newcomers, language courses, housing assistance, pathways to citizenship. People saw Finland as a place to build a future, to contribute to society, to find safety. This was the Finland the world thought it knew. But that image is now cracking. The welcome mat appears to be getting pulled back. What was once a quiet consensus is now a subject of fierce debate. The conversation has shifted dramatically. Crisis, threat. Something fundamental has changed within this Nordic nation. The doors that were once open are now closing, slowly but surely. What is happening in Finland? Why is a nation of stability and happiness grappling such a contentious issue? It's a story about people, about fear, about the future. We're here to investigate why Finland, once proud of its welcome, is now closing its doors. Finland shares a long border with Russia, over 1,300 kilometers. Dense forests and remote wilderness separate the two nations. For decades, this border was a relatively quiet frontier, a line on a map that represented a peaceful coexistence. The Finnish government accuses Russia of weaponizing migration. They claim Russia is deliberately funneling asylum seekers towards the Finnish border. This act, they argue, is a form of hybrid warfare. It is designed to destabilize Finland and test the resolve of the European Union. In late 2023, Finland took an unprecedented step. It closed all its land border crossings with Russia. This decision has created a paradox. On one hand, Finland is trying to protect its sovereignty and security. On the other, it is being accused of abandoning its humanitarian principles. International law and EU treaties guarantee the right to seek asylum. Yet with the border sealed, that right becomes almost impossible to exercise. For most of its history, Finland was not a destination for immigrants. It was in fact a country people left. For centuries, Finns moved across their borders, particularly to neighboring Sweden, in search of work and better opportunities. It was a largely homogeneous society. This pattern of emigration peaked in the decades following the Second World War. The Finnish economy was struggling to rebuild, and jobs were scarce. This collective memory would, in later years, subtly influence their attitudes towards those arriving on their own shores, creating a quiet undercurrent of empathy. A key moment came with the arrival of Chilean refugees in the 1970s, fleeing the military dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. This was followed by another significant intake in the early 1990s. The arrival of Somali refugees in particular represented a new chapter. The government responded by developing its first comprehensive refugee and integration policies, marking a formal move towards a more structured, welcoming system. This humanitarian turn was solidified by Finland's entry into the European Union in 1995. As Finland began to accept more immigrants, it turned to the Nordic model to guide its integration policies. The cornerstone of this integration strategy was language. The government invested heavily. Beyond language, the integration programs included vocational training and assistance with housing. For a time, this system was seen as a success story. The public generally supported the investment in integration. However, this carefully constructed model depended on manageable numbers. As the number of arrivals began to increase, particularly following the European migrant crisis of 2015, the system started to show signs of strain. The costs of the comprehensive integration programs grew, and questions about their effectiveness began to surface. A new voice started to gain traction. This was the voice of the Finns party. They argued the political elite had lost touch. They questioned European Union membership, the burdens of international bailouts, and most pointedly, the consensus on immigration. Their leaders used blunt language, cutting through the diplomatic speech of traditional politicians. Their breakthrough came in the 2011 parliamentary election. That political earthquake sent shockwaves through the system. The European migrant crisis of 2015 acted as a powerful accelerant. The arrival of over 32,000 asylum seekers overwhelmed reception systems. Reception centers set up in schools, reception centers in hotels, reception centers in shipping containers. The government response, stricter measures. The coalition now included the Finns Party. Asylum criteria tightened. Policy changes marked a clear departure, signaling the end of open-ended humanitarianism. 2015 effectively ended the old consensus. The culmination of this political transformation came with the 2023 parliamentary election. The results delivered one of the most right-leaning governments in Finland's modern history. For the first time, the Finns Party secured key ministerial positions controlling immigration and security. The new government's program laid out a clear vision for immigration. The document promised a paradigm shift. The goal? Reduce so-called harmful immigration, and to make Finland a less attractive destination for asylum seekers. The rhetoric moved away from integration and toward national self-interest. Specific proposals within the government program were radical. Create a separate, lower-tier social security system for immigrants, tighten requirements for permanent residency and citizenship, extending the residency requirement to 8 years, have the refugee quota, explore ways to limit the right to seek asylum at the border. That would challenge EU law and international conventions. Finland has an aging population, one of the fastest aging in Europe. This means a shrinking workforce is tasked with supporting a growing number of retirees. The cost of supporting immigrants has therefore become a highly sensitive issue. The unemployment rate among the foreign-born population has consistently remained much higher. These cultural anxieties have been amplified by a focus on public safety and crime. The perception that this is eroding is a powerful emotional driver for political change. The most visible and dramatic application of Finland's new hardline stance has been the complete closure of its land border with Russia. Concrete barriers, barbed wire fences, increased patrols. These now block all official crossing points. The government drafted emergency legislation, temporarily dubbed the pushback law, to summarily deny entry to asylum seekers, without accepting their applications for protection. The methods used to keep them closed are increasingly uncompromising, reshaping Finland's image from an open society to a guarded fortress on Europe's edge. The combination of restrictive new policies is creating a powerful chilling effect, intended to deter not just asylum seekers, but other potential immigrants as well. For immigrants who have built their lives in Finland, the recent shifts have created a pervasive atmosphere of anxiety and insecurity. We spoke to Ahmed, a software engineer. When I first arrived, he explains, people were curious and welcoming. Now there is a palpable tension. You hear the anti-immigrant rhetoric, and you can't help but feel that it's directed at you. Consider the story of Maria, a care worker from the Philippines. She is deeply concerned about the new, stricter income requirements for family reunification. I have been saving for years to bring my son here. Now I fear I will never earn enough to satisfy the government. It feels like they are punishing us for not being rich enough. For people who chose Finland for its values of equality and fairness, this new climate of suspicion feels like a profound betrayal. The big arguments about immigration have really split Finnish society right down the middle. We met Pekka. He firmly says that for too long we've been too trusting. Our town can't afford to help everyone. This isn't about being against other races. It's about common sense. Alina, a university student, feels ashamed and angry. She says what's happening is a disgrace. We are a rich country. We are closing our doors to people running from war and danger. This difference shows up in families, workplaces, and communities. These opposing views reveal a deep identity crisis. Finland's journey is a story of profound and rapid transformation. That chapter now appears to be closing. Finland today grapples with an identity crisis, caught in a cross-current of competing forces, geopolitical tensions, migratory flows, economic strain, and growing fear. Finland's story mirrors a wider Western dilemma: sovereignty versus responsibility, security versus compassion. The world watches. These choices will echo far beyond Finland.